Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It is me, AC, and on the screen to my left, for the first time in a week or so now, I am joined by my illustrious AEW guru, I'm going to call you Dynamite Dave again. Dave Robinson, happy Friday, my man.
Problem child, please, mate.
Oh, of course, yes. Problem.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. How are you? How's your week been?
All good, shaping up, ready to go on a little trip to the Spanish capital next week. So this will be one of the last times, well, a couple more times that people will be able to see and hear me for a week. I hope they don't miss me too much. But yeah, the week's been good. How is the little man doing?
Everyone's good here, mate. Just a bit frenetic and busy, but everyone's fit and healthy and well. So nothing to complain about. And definitely nothing to complain about in the world of AEW at the minute. Oh, Dynamite was a really, really good show again this week.
Yeah, definitely not. Everything was all dandy, shall we say, fine and dandy. There was a couple of bits of news before we get into Dynamite. I think it come out after Dynamite or just before. Brock and Arn Anderson have left AEW on good grounds by the sounds of it. I think it's just a case of Brock needing to get some more in-ring time. I would expect probably go back to the Indies, do something there. Is it a case of see you down the road, Brock, more than goodbye forever, Brock?
Maybe. I think that was probably similar to Brian Pillman as well. I know he's ultimately been picked up by WWE and NXT. But I just think the roster is so packed. And when I look at Brock Anderson right now, he's just not ready. He's pretty proficient in the ring, and he was always going to be with Arn Anderson as his dad. But in terms of character development, in terms of that star factor, if you like, it's just not there. And that's not to say that he won't be in the future. So yeah, I'm sure they ended it on good terms as reported, and there's the door's open for a future return should Brock catch fire on the Indies. But I think he needs to go out and do that, and the real world of wrestling, I suppose. And he'll be a much more rounded performer if he does make his way back to AEW. I think Arn Anderson going sad as well from a backstage, from an agent point of view. But they've got a lot of good guys back there. So I'm sure AEW will be fine. I'm sure Brock Anderson will be fine. And his dad will be by his side for the journey. So he's in good hands.
And if Brock or Arn Anderson want to come on this show, you're more than welcome.
It would be great to have Arn on in particular for me.
DMs are open. Just please.
Yeah.
The other bit of news from AEW was that they are doing another pay-per-view at the end of December. World's End is going to happen. Is this now a case of slowly but surely AEW starting to get to a point where they'll be doing monthly pay-per-views?
I think that's what the network wants, to be honest. I think that's more on them. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know. That's my interpretation of it, though. I wouldn't necessarily want one a month. But obviously they've gone from 4 a couple of years ago to they added Forbidden Door, they've added All In, so that's 6. They've added Wrestle Dream, and it says World's End, this one's called, so that's 8.
Yeah.
So I think that'd do, really. I think that'd be a pretty good split. But we'll see. If the network wants it and they're making money off it, then they're going to keep putting more shows out, and they might do some special events rather than the special Dynamites that we've had in the past. They might just have 12 special shows and they don't do the special Dynamites like Winter's Coming and Beach Break and those type of events. So we'll see. I know the Arthur Ashe event in September, that's been touted to be a pay-per-view next year at that venue as well. But yeah, it's a positive thing, isn't it, for AEW? If they're adding more shows, more pay-per-views, more demand, more money, that's a good sign of growth.
Has to be a good sign of growth. Hopefully they'll get it. The one other thing I wanted to touch on just quickly before we start, only because he's on Dynamite this week, was that Rob Van Dam come out And this really shows you the crap side of this, not to say tribalism as such, but he said that 30 minutes before he went out on Dynamite the first time, I think it was maybe Dynamite. It was Dynamite he come out on first, wasn't it? He got the call from WWE to say, you're not needed for WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Half an hour before he goes out. Even though he had everything okayed, he said to them, I'm going to go on AEW and do this. They're like, yeah, that's fine. I hate that.
Yeah.
This is like Philadelphia is ECW territory. Why do they need to be so petty about this sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's just needless, unnecessary, childish. And really, really huge respect to Rob Van Dam for then going ahead and fulfilling his arranged and he's advertised booking, because I'm sure there'd be some performers that may have cancelled or dropped out, or been really confused and not knowing what to do. So RVD to go, no, this is what I'm committed to, this is what I'm doing, and go out and did it. He had a great match with Jack Perry. I think it was that match.
Yeah.
His first appearance. And it's led to subsequent appearances. So I really hope now AEW just sign RVD. It looks like he's going to be featuring anyway, like fairly often. I'd just get him signed up now and reward him for that, because it's just pathetic, really.
Funny that we'll see now, because obviously during Dynamite, we'll touch on it in a minute. There was another legend from WWE that appeared. We'll be interested to see what happens with that particular legend as we progress. But let's get into what was a great show of Dynamite. Kicked off with MJF. I was talking to Renee at the back. Lots of stuff going on with MJF on this episode. I mean, he was saying, obviously, he's got this match to the Dynamite Diamond Ring first, and he's going to basically at the pay-per-view, that Jay White has a bullet in the chamber in Philadelphia, and he's not going to miss. The one thing I would say is, I don't know if it was at this point where the masked man come back on the screen. I have a theory of who that is now. And it's only because he was quite slender, wasn't he, when we first saw the attack on Jay White at that stage. I reckon it's Jack Perry.
Okay.
Bit of a left field one, I know. But it's just, unless it's not going to be the same guy that was first under the... Yeah,
I was thinking that. Not necessarily going to reveal who it was who carried out that. I think it's Adam Cole. I've said that from the very first time that this happened. Yeah. I think Adam Cole's under the mask. But Jack Perry, great shout. That could be a good way to reintroduce him.
Yeah, exactly that. And I just think it's just because I still believe that Cole is very much injured. The one thing I just wanted to quickly cover off, with you before we start, was Rampage this week looks very, very tasty in that they have Santana and Ortiz going against Celebrate. Now, before everybody asks, I'm not giving away the result of that particular match. Was you surprised that match was actually on Rampage, or do you see it as it starts on Rampage, but there's more to come from those two?
Possibly, yeah. To be honest, when they were doing all the backstage vignettes, I thought it was leading to Full Gear.
Yeah, me too.
And I know both of them haven't appeared heavily on AEW TV for a long time, really. Santana's recently returned, obviously at All In when his first time in probably a year competing. Yeah. I thought we'd go towards that, but I suppose new fans in the last 6 to 8 months perhaps aren't really too familiar with the guys. So I don't know. I don't know what the thinking behind that is. As you say, if it's going to lead to multiple matches, then yes, maybe we get the first one on Rampage and we'll see how it plays out. Yeah. But I at least expected it to be on Dynamite. But yeah, I just thought it would be a pay-per-view match that they were working towards, because the backstage promo has been very good as well. And obviously we've got the history. There's a lot of stuff they can do in terms of video packages between Santana and Ortiz, and there's still a few weeks to go before Full Gear. I was a little bit surprised it was announced for Rampage, but I am looking forward to checking that out tomorrow.
Yeah, I obviously know the results, but I'm definitely going to be watching it tomorrow.
Yeah,
just because it's such a good match. Because it's one of those ones where they've really built it up nicely. The video packages have been really well for it. So certainly what I'm looking forward to. But anyway, I digress, because I was talking about MJF. Juice Robinson and MJF was first for Dynamite Diamond Ring match. Love this. Fun opener. Juice Robinson every week gets me somehow, and he's still so. And he's definitely, wouldn't say an unsung hero because he gets talking about a lot, but he's definitely really, really good. He's coming on so much since he's first coming. I know he's the sort of comedy aspect to it, but he's still so good in the ring as well. Obviously, MJF won this match with the Heat Seeker. The Guns jumped him. The Acclaimed come out as well. They were going to get him to scissor me, but they've then set up an 8-man as well. Tag with 3 partners of MJF's choosing. It looks like it may be the Acclaimed. And after that, we then get what I would call a goosebump moment in AEW. Kenny Omega comes out and challenges MJF to a match that will take place this Saturday. You and Parker are going to have the great... I might even join you for this on the review on Sunday. Get the privilege to review it. We get the privilege to watch it. Amazing opener. And then something like Kenny Omega versus MJF for the world title on free TV on Collision. That's the sort of reasons why you want to watch wrestling when they do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This whole segment from the match to the aftermath and then the Kenny Omega part, it was just fantastic, just brilliant. Every element of it. I think Kenny back being repositioned as one of the real top guys in AEW, which he always has been. He's been a bit quieter. He's been doing trios things and, but this match now, main event of Collision, I'm assuming, for the world title. And I think MJF, if he's not got many days left to go before he breaks Kenny's record for the title reign. I don't even know if that coincides with the match or this weekend.
It was 13 days last week, I think.
Yeah, so it's around about now. So that's another little wrinkle that's of interest. Excellent though. Excellent from start to finish. Juice Robinson, me and Parker talked about him on Collision. Himself and his wife, obviously Tony Storm, both of those, 2 of the best, absolutely most captivating characters in AEW at the minute. Every time they're on screen, I'm hooked. So yeah, I love the little bit with the Acclaimed as well, and I like now the element of doubt we've got who Max is going to pick as his partners, because he doesn't look like he's going to pick Roddy and the Kingdom, and he doesn't look like he's going to pick Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed. So we'll see who he goes in terms of his partners. But just so much going on, and everything that is going on, I'm interested in all the elements of as well, including who's behind the mask. So some really good stuff at the minute.
It's nice that a champion has got a load of enemies, which see, and we're going to get to another 2 later on in the show. But there's also nice that there's a lot of stuff centering around there. There's a lot of elements to it, a lot of moving parts. You've got the enemies, you've got the tag match coming up, you've got the man behind the mask, you've got these other little things. There's so much. I like it. It's not Bloodline-esque, but with the Bloodline has a lot of moving parts, a lot of elements, and then they switch things up. Yeah. AEW, it's not a Bloodline storyline, but there's so much going on with it that I really like.
Well, I think what you do is you're right. You got a big piece of paper and you got MJF in the middle. And then at the minute, if you just draw sticks off MJF and the amount of characters and personalities involved, and not just the people that are currently involved, the people that are potentially involved because of affiliations with some of those wrestlers, really, really good stuff. I love what they're doing with it. My only kind of criticism at the minute is like the Ring of Honor titles. That's a bit of a side point, I suppose. Because you've got that in the mix as well, that Max is walking around as one of the Ring of Honor tag team champions. So I think if he wasn't, the world title would have even more spotlight on it. And that would be the sole focus. So that would be the only thing I'd change. But in terms of the story, in terms of the amount of rivals MJF's got and the amount of people gunning for that world title, that's what we should be having. That's, the most important belt in the promotion is that world title, and it really feels like it right now.
Exactly that. And it's going back to the Attitude Era days. Everything was focused around the champion.
Yeah,
that's how it should be, and more of the same, AEW, please, because that booking's great. So I'd like to see more of that. Anyway, you mentioned something about being hooked. Now we move on to Hook, and his tag team partner, Mr. 420 RVD. against Dark Order with Evil Uno. It was Reynolds and Silver, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dark Order. Quite a quick match, but is Hook and RVD the tag team in 2023 that we didn't know we needed, but we absolutely love?
Yeah, I think so. Great count. I mean, Hook's got a few partners, hasn't he? Really,
Yeah.
because he's involved with Best Friends in Orange as well.
Yes, he is.
But I think the history as well, and if they can pay it off down the line with Hook and RVD one-on-one for the FTW title, I think that's a match as well that people would want to see. And RVD has shown that he absolutely still got it, and he's not a novelty act at this point in his career. He's still hitting moves as well as he was hitting them 10, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. He an awesome Van Daminator on Evil Uno, which was a nice way of doing that as well, because we didn't see all that many Van Daminators during his time in WWE because of the change in like not using the chairs and stuff like that. So I thought that was really well done. We got a great 5-star, and Hook picks up the win as well with the red rum. So Hook gets over, RVD looks great, and I want to see more of this team, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
RVD's had a lot of good tag team partners over his career, hasn't he? I think back to Kane and some of the ECW ones as well, Sabu, Taz, and I think RVD in that role as a tag team partner, as a veteran, similar to what they've done with Sting and Darby. RVD obviously younger than Sting, so there's mileage there, and I really hope, as I say, from what we talked about prior to starting the review about RVD's decision to kind of see through his commitment with AEW. Yeah. If he wants it, it's rewarded with a contract and an extended run in the company. I think that would be. I don't think many fans would have a problem with that.
We won't get one here.
No.
More RVD, the better for me. They introduced Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm, as it was going to a break, and then we come back. Schiavone, here we go. I'm going to do it. Sting introduces Sting. I always do it just because the way he does it. There was to sort of, thanking Sting. Tony Khan had a huge gift for Sting, and I always get worried when they say these types of things as to where it was going, what it was doing. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, Sting is retiring, I believe, in February. Is that when the pay-per-view is? February resolution, is it? I think that's
it will be February, won't it?
Yes. He's retiring in February, and he had the big, they thanked Sting. The crowd was going to thank you, Sting, and Schiavone was like, it was my honor to introduce to you your big surprise, bring it out. And all of a sudden that music hits, the music of the 16-time world champion Ric Flair. Sting is a little bit emotional. It looks like there's a few tears in the eyes.
He wasn't the only one, mate.
Yeah, he weren't the only one. There you go. Darby's in the ring as well. They embrace. Flair talks about he's there to sort of kind of ride Sting coattails a little bit. But, of course, you can't have one of those segments without an interruption. And, of course, why not the best heel in the business interrupting? And Christian comes out. The line that I think got everyone was Ric Flair when he said to Rick, if there was a God, you would have died 20 years ago. Jesus Christ.
That one. And also the Tony Khan got you a gift, essentially a suit, some gold chains, and a black liver. Oh, that was like, wow. Whoa, like fantastic heel work from Christian again. But that moment with Sting and Flair, did I know I wanted to see that in 2023? Perhaps not, but it was just perfect. It was so well done. As you say, Sting got a bit emotional. I can't be the only fan that was watching with a tear in my eye, thinking that was just such a great moment. And it looked like as well, absolutely, Sting had no idea that it was going to happen. Yeah, he's either a fantastic actor or that looked very genuine. That looked very genuine, as he didn't know that moment was about to happen. He didn't know what that gift was. Great moment with Flair calling Sting the nicest guy he's ever met. I thought that was great as well. And Flair didn't go on too much. No. He had a few lines, and then obviously the introduction from Christian, and it continues the story. Looks like, I don't know, it looks like we might be seeing a bit of an extended stay for Ric Flair in AEW, because what they were saying was Flair has arrived in AEW. So I don't think it's just going to be a one-time thing. But yeah, Christian on the microphone at the minute, there's nobody better.
No, there is no one that even touches that guy at the minute on the microphone. They did also announce that Christian said he didn't want to wait till Resolution, Sting to find a partner at Full Gear to go against him, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. So it's going to be Darby, Sting. I'm guessing maybe Copeland will
Yeah,
join
I thought so.
partly on that. Maybe Flair will be the outside, but then it brings the question, Dave, who is going to be Sting's retirement match against? Now we're not going to get Sting and Flair in 2024, are we?
No, I think it's got to be Sting and Darby, with Darby picking up the win. I think that is the ultimate payoff to the story, the friendship, the relationship, the run. I think that would be the perfect way for Sting to go out. I'm hopeful that's the way they go with it. I really was disappointed a few years ago when Sting lost at WrestleMania to Triple H. I thought that was just, he should have absolutely won that match, but that was never his retirement match at the time. With this as his last match of all time, I really I don't think it serves. It doesn't do anything for Sting by winning that retirement match.
No,
but it could do a hell of a lot for Darby, being the guy that beat Sting in his last match. So I think that's the way they surely have to go with it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be better for Sting to put someone over.
Yeah,
probably going to be, as you say, Darby. As he's.
I mean, you could see that last Sting moment, and Darby's in the Scorpion Deathlock, and he taps, and that would be like a good send off in some respects. But I just think that's a very short term thing. That's just that one hit for the night. Yeah. Whereas they could really make Darby long term by pinning Sting with a coffin drop. So that's what I'd like to see.
Indeed, I'd like to definitely see Sting put someone over. Moves us nicely onto the Ring of Honor trios titles, held by the Elite and Hangman Adam Page. They were going against the Hardys and Isiah. Is it Isiah Cassidy? Isn't it? Isiah Cassidy.
Isiah, yeah.
Isiah Cassidy, yeah. Fun little 6-man here. No surprises that the Elite picks up the win. Then we go to what I'd say is another Attitude Era-esque moment. They go to the screen. Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland have broken into the home of Hangman Adam Page. And even at this point, Nana's going, I don't think this is a good idea, blah, blah, blah. And they talk over Adam Page's, the cot that apparently has contained Adam Page's newborn, or really relatively newborn child. And Swerve put a shirt in there as well. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that, you would expect from an Austin McMahon type thing, or a really top level feud. And I think that they are certainly positioning Strickland ready for, not saying a world title run soon, but they're certainly gearing him up for that level or maybe that level of a run. But that was really to turn that feud up a notch with Adam Page, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park with this.
Definitely. Yeah, they're establishing Swerve as a top star. And we've said a long time on this podcast that Swerve is a top star. And this again, similar to the one they did at Nick Wayne's home in the ring, just a very, very hard hitting vignette. And as you say, you've got Nana as well. Yeah. Kind of saying this is too far. Come on, boss. Let's get out of here. And Strickland just keeps going. Yeah. And I think getting Hangman out the ring and backstage was a nice touch as well. That he wasn't just watching it in the ring; he was out of there, because it kind of blurred your kind of perception of it real and the world of wrestling. It kind of straddled that line pretty well. Obviously, it was all pre-arranged and signed off. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but the way they presented it was perfect. I'm glad this feud continues. I'm glad that we're going to get more matches between Hangman and Swerve, and I'm assuming we're going to get a big one-on-one match, perhaps with a stipulation at Full Gear. Yeah,
I think so, and probably Hangman will end up winning that. I think Swerve won the first one, didn't he? Likely the Hangman gets revenge at that point, maybe, or it could go longer. We don't know. From the sublime to a little bit, let's say, of a little bit of a ridiculous here, the women's title match. It was Shida and Soho, which I had very high hopes for. It just didn't deliver for me. I felt as if there was awkward moments. Not a fan of this spray can stuff either. I expected a lot, because these two in the ring are great, but I don't know, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the spray can. I don't need the gimmicks sometimes, when it's just there for the sake of it. I just want to see two great performers go out there and have a great match. And I know you've got the character of Ruby to consider, but you can perhaps factor into the finish on occasion. But I think sometimes you just need to go out, have a match between two great performers. You don't know which way it's going to go, And similar to the match we had with the Danielson match and Andrade, where in the end, Danielson kind of just out wrestled Andrade, but it could have gone either way. There were near falls on both sides, and it just kept you on the edge of your seat. I think we need more of that in the women's division as well, because they've got so many great performers and competitors in there. We've banged the drum for a while about, the focus to be more on women's wrestling. We're getting more. Obviously, we're getting the Toni Storm segment, and we're getting this. So we are getting a presence of more of a presence of the females on AEW television. But I just think the matches should be booked as well as the men's matches are booked at times. So I'm not sure who's responsible for that. But yeah, we don't need tins of spray paint like factoring into outcomes of matches on a weekly basis. So I do get your point.
Yeah, not when you've got two great competitors like that either.
No, exactly.
But you mentioned Toni Storm, and here she comes. She's next in line. I am praying, and this is nothing against Shida, and I'm not one that likes a lot of title changes. I'm praying it's the time, back to timeless.
I think so. And it's an interesting one though, because her character it came about by her shortcomings, and a failure, and her losing the title. Yeah, that's how this timeless Toni Storm character came to be, and dealing with the setbacks. But she's totally on fire at the minute. Her character, she's always been fantastic in the ring. So for me, it makes perfect sense for her to be I really like Shida. I really do. She has some great matches, and she should still be in that title picture. But I think Toni Storm, they've got lightning in a bottle at the minute with it. So I think they need to kind of double down on that, put the strap on her, and see where that takes her character as well as the champion.
Indeed, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Resolution for me. We're talking about MJF's enemies earlier on. And we got another one. But he wants to help MJF. But he will help JF on one condition, which is that he gets a rematch for the world title. That aforementioned man is Mr. Samoa Joe. I would love to see that match again. Does MJF do a deal with the devil, but he is the devil, isn't he? So does MJF accept this offer and have Samoa Joe partner him against the king, not the kingdom, against who was it? Jeez, I've lost me.
It's Bullet Club.
Bullet Club. Sorry, Bullet Club. Yeah. Does he use Samoa Joe?
Interesting one, isn't it? Going back to did Samoa Joe teamed with Bullet Club, didn't he, on the first Collision?
Yeah, I think so.
He was involved in that match with Punk. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Which more Joe the better. And I've talked about Christian. I've talked about Toni Storm. Talked about Juice. Samoa Joe is right up there as well at the minute. So him factoring into MJF's story is great. Whether he actually partners him, I'm not sure. I still think they go with the Acclaim, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that would be the match for that 4-on-4 match. But yeah, having Samoa Joe there as well is interesting. As I say, we'd love to see another match between those two. I'd love to see a world title reign for Samoa Joe before his career's up. I don't think his career's winding down anytime soon. But I'd like to see him as an AEW world champion at some point down the line. So keeping him involved with his story, keeping him as not only a challenger for MJF, but a potential partner for him is something I wasn't expecting.
No, me either. But yeah, I hope to see it, and we'll see what MJF picks. As I said before, it's just great that the world champion's got a load of enemies. And the other enemy that he's got that we haven't mentioned, which you made a great point of last time we spoke, was Wardlow. I want to just get your feelings on this. I am still not convinced with this yet, because we have seen this a lot of times with Wardlow. He comes in, he wins a load of matches convincingly. They build him. He gets a big shot, loses, then disappears for 3 months or so and so on. If they're going to do something with Wardlow now, or not necessarily now, but if they're going to build him up for a match with MJF for the title, does he have to win it to keep the credibility of Wardlow? Because for me, his credibility shot down a little bit.
Yeah, I think they have to go as a Wardlow's got to be a heel moving forward. I think that's the only way they can kind of salvage it. I don't anticipate he's going to win the world title. So I would keep away from that match. I don't know how, because that's what he's kind of got on his wrist tape and that's what he's shooting towards. But we'll see how the whole story plays out. There's plenty of mileage in the Adam Cole stuff. We've got the Devil stuff going on. Nobody's 100% convinced that MJF is a baby face in terms of, you know, he hasn't got tricks up his sleeve. We still don't know what's going to happen with him and Adam Cole. Yeah, this whole few months and this face run from MJF, it hasn't been like a traditional slapping hands, kissing babies face run, has it? So it could change at any moment, and MJF could be the biggest scumbag in the company again. And Wardlow could be by his side. You know, some of his best work really was as MJF's henchman. And absolutely, he got great reactions from the crowd. And when they turned on him, and the win against MJF was perfect. But as you say, his career at times has kind of derailed in the past few years. So I think to bring him back, he's got to be a heel. And he's got to be aligned with a heel MJF if that's the way they go. Yeah. If not, I think he's just got to be a destroyer and they keep him away from the world title. He's not ready. He's not ready.
No, exactly that. And I'll see where we go. Hopefully, as you said, there's mileage and other things, but he keeps in the background, and maybe when they're ready to pull a trigger,
that's one. He's got a part to play in it. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think I think we're just working towards MJF against Wardlow, and MJF wins. That doesn't do anything for Wardlow. And, you know, you can't see him picking up the world title anytime soon. So, hopefully they've got more. It's not just that plan. And I'm sure they do. There's other things, and it's all interweaved with the other stuff that's going on. Yeah.
Just before we get to the main event, Jericho was saying that he's got some big men ready to take on Don Callis' team. Is it going to be the Big Show?
That was the first person I thought of. The Jerry Show tag team in WWE. Jericho and Big Show tag team. And so, that would make sense to me. He's done a lot with the Captain Insano thing, hasn't he? Of late. That would be the person you would think of straight away that he's referring to. Yeah. Are there any other big guys that Jericho's got a past with?
Mark Henry?
Yeah, I suppose there's guys there that could play that could fill those boots. But my immediate, if I had to put money on it, I would say he's talking about Paul White.
Yeah, hopefully Paul White, not Captain Insano, because that particular feud is at a level where you don't need the comedic side. You need kind of the Big Show in a without the aforementioned name, obviously.
Well, that's All In Big Show. Paul White, sorry. He did come out at the start with Anthony Ogogo.
Yeah, he did.
Now, I don't know if that was just because it was in the UK. I don't know what the link is between Jericho and Ogogo, but I ultimately don't know why Paul White was with Anthony Ogogo. So maybe something's going to happen there with them too. Pure speculation. I haven't read anything along those lines, but I think Paul White probably factors into this Don Callis story.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. I don't know any other big guys. I mean, I don't think there's any sort of free agents around at this point. I
was thinking back to Jericho's running AEW and guys he's bought in at times, but I mean, there's Jeff Cobb, but Jeff Cobb's a strong guy, but I wouldn't say he's a big guy. Like when he's talking about Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah.
So there's nobody else. Obviously, you'd think Hager, but Hager's that stuff with the JAS has gone in a different direction, and that would make no sense to bring Hager back to be involved with this. So I don't think it'd be him. No. So I think it's going to be someone of a surprise or somebody that we haven't seen on television for a while. And Paul White definitely fits that. Fits that role.
Fits that bill. And let's move on to this, because we always say main events have to be good. You want your main event to be great, and this was absolutely tremendous. Our good mate, our champion, Orange Cassidy, now again back as the international champion, and Okada against the Blackpool Combat Club. I think this was Claudio and Danielson. what a great main event. So there was a bit of an injury scare in this. At the end of the match, Danielson was seen clutching his face or his head and his face. Tony Khan did say that he managed to walk out without any assistance. So hopefully that's a good thing for Danielson. We don't need another injury, especially as he's entering that last year of dream matches that he wants. But what a day, what a great match on this. Claudio pins Cassidy in this. Now, I think he's got a title match with Cassidy coming up, and I think
next week.
And then obviously Cassidy potentially goes on with, if he wins, will go on against Moxley, who's back at full gear. But this main event was absolute. You want to see, when you look at dictionary, you want to sort of see a description of AEW. That's the match, one of the matches you put in there, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people were expecting the fireworks from Okada and Danielson, but for me, it was Claudio and Orange that stole the show. Some of their exchanges and the reversal spots that they did were really, really good. And I was watching it going, that's the match I want to see now coming off the back of it, which, as you say, once the match was over and Claudio had picked up the win for his team, they announced Dynamite next week that he would get a shot at Orange Cassidy's international title. So I'm sure Orange will square up there and get the win back. But I just thought that was a perfect way to set it up. With Danielson, I never know if he's legitimately injured or whether he's selling, because he's one of the best sellers in the world and perhaps of all time in wrestling. Every single time, I never know for sure. So I thought it was a bit of a strange way that the show ended. I don't know whether there was more that was going to happen, could have happened, should have happened. Okada seemed to be kind of mocking Danielson to hopefully set up another encounter between those two. I don't know if something went awry and whether it was a legitimate injury or whether that was just how they wanted the show to end. But I don't know, what were your thoughts on the way the show went off the air?
Yeah, weird one. And I think you're right. I think it may have played into may have been playing up the fact that there was an injury, but maybe that they just wanted to do that because we're trying to set up another Danielson Okada match.
Yeah.
Because obviously that match was not cut short, but obviously Danielson got injured near the end of that match. So it would make sense for him to have another one. So perhaps that's what they were looking for. As you rightfully say, you never know if Danielson's legitimately injured, but it is always a concern, especially around the head area, because that's why he technically had to retire from WWE years ago. So always a concern. But yeah, I was a bit like, oh, that's it kind of thing. But it does make you want to watch, because they followed it up nice with Claudio's got the pin. Oh, now he's got Orange Cassidy next week for the title. So that was a nice way of, ending it with like, oh, well, I want to see it next week because Claudio's just beat the champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Now do it again. The in-ring action was absolutely perfect from these four. I loved it. Dynamite as a whole for me ticked so many boxes that it's pushing up a 9 out of 10 for me for the week. Obviously, the women's match was a really disappointment. The only real disappointment, really, on that show. There's so much going on, and that's what you like. And there's so much going on about centering around the champion, which is exactly what you want from a show. So for me, Dynamite, brilliant. 9 out of 10 for me, Dave. And I'm looking forward to a Collision for that massive main event alone. And secondly, to next week's Dynamite to see how this follows up.
Yeah, I'm happy with 9 out of 10. I was thinking about 8.5, 9. So yeah, I'll go with yours. A really, really good show. As I say, I would have liked to have seen something, maybe a pull apart between Okada and Danielson at the very end. But if he was legitimately injured and that couldn't happen because of that, then fair enough. And if he is legitimately injured, hopefully he's not out for any extended period of time, because the matches that he's been having, including this one, the main event to Dynamite, have been sensational. And we just got to really enjoy this run of Danielson, one of the best of all time. The greatest of all time. I'm sure some people would call him the best technical wrestler of all time. So we've got him for another 10 months or so, 11 months. So let's just enjoy every time he's in there, chopping it up with the likes of Okada and Orange Cassidy. We haven't had a one-on-one Orange and Danielson match, have we? So I'm sure that's a match as well that he'd love to have before he does step away from full-time in-ring duty. But yeah, Dynamite was great this week, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that match on Rampage, which I don't think they plugged on Dynamite. Yeah, which I definitely should have. But the collision as well is shaping up to be a real great episode. And that main event of Kenny and MJF is going to be a great match.
And they've also got a lot of things going on separately on Collision, like the CJ Perry manager thing and bits and pieces like that. So they do differentiate the shows and have a little bit something different. Like it's like having separate brands without having separate brands.
Well, yeah, because there was absolutely no mention of the House of Black, and the House of Black kind of infested Collision last Saturday. Yeah. They were the theme throughout the show, appearing multiple times. So we had no mention of them at all on Dynamite, which, as I say, Malachi has come out in the past and said, we're Collision guys. So if you want to see us, you watch Collision. And I definitely want to see them. And there's a lot of people that do. So again, like to your point, it's not just about that main event on Saturday night. It's everything else. And a lot of the other characters, even the likes of Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale and people like that are kind of redeveloping their characters a little bit and going in different directions. So the intrigue's there, and you always get great in-ring matches, and you usually get some of the luchadors as well. They've really been a feature of Collision as well. You like sort of Mystico and Commander, Gravity, Bandido, hopefully back soon. We got Roosh on the way back as well. You know, I'm a huge Roosh fan. I loved his vignette on last Saturday and talking about people. People were saying he's too dangerous. I can't wait to see El Toro Blanco back in the ring, and it looks like he's going to be in the ring on Saturday nights on Collision.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. It's so good to have it. It's so good that the wrestling business is thriving as a whole. So we finished the AEW, but we need to mention a couple of things. When I mentioned the wrestling business is thriving as a whole, Andy, one of our other guy, one of the hosts of the show, he is off. We got a press ticket or tickets to Impact Wrestling or TNA as the rebrand's going to happen. He got press. We got press ticket. We got offered press tickets for TNA. So big thanks to the guys at TNA and Impact Wrestling for that. Saturday, I am off to RCWA in Raynham. I've been invited down there. I'll be meeting our good friend CJ Carter. Is he going to be one of the 6 men is he going to be one of the former champions that are going to be challenging for the title in the main event? Who knows? I can't say a word. A good Canby lad as well. Osprey's partner, Paul Robinson, will be on the show as well. Headlined by a coffin match between the
coffee match.
A coffee match. Yeah, we had the mimosa match between Warren Banks, who's going to be retiring very, very shortly from wrestling. Progress Wrestling is his last match, but he's going to be in a coffin match against Kelly Six as well. A good friend, Taylor James, will be competing against Paul Robinson on the card. And another 2 good friends of the show, Corey McRae, will go one-on-one with Mark True in what should be an absolute banger. The week after, I am back at 229 for Revolution Pro Wrestling. The card will be announced this week. And then the week after, all of us from Team Buckle will be attending our spiritual home of 96 Shenley Road for the last show of the year for Ignite Wrestle Pro. And they have battened down the hatches. They have got a card of cards for that, including Corey McRae and Gene Money in a rematch from the last show. Those of you that don't know, Corey McRae had won from Shenanigans. Gene Money has put it all on the line on the 12th of November. If he doesn't beat Corey McRae, he will have to leave Ignite for good. The breakout finals will be there as well. There is a 5 or 6 man elimination style match on there, and then we will crown a new breakout champion with a wild card. That is Danny Is-It. They'll be competing for that, and that winner of that match gets a title opportunity anytime they like. Make of that what you will, considering there is a title show match on that show as the main event, but also in the title match, our good friend and our champion of champions, or the Hitting the Turnbuckle champion, Smashing Mike, will go one-on-one with Chris Ridgway. A big star in Japan is coming back to face Mike, and I do know who the winner of that match will take on in February. but you're going to have to attend the show to find out who that is. Actually, you're going to have to attend the show. You're going to have to wait to find out who it is. They will be announcing a big headline act for February show on the show itself. The show is limited. We are talking 20 odd tickets left. They've opened up every seat possible. Looks like they're going for another buckle up, sold out show in Ignite. But also, Andy and Dave will soon be attending SWA. They've got a big show coming up. And Dave, you're also going to be attending another show at your good friends at BCCW.
Yeah, a lot of wrestling coming up, a lot of indie shows coming up towards the end of the year now. It's a busy time for us. We've been invited as well to review a number of shows as well, haven't we, mate? So, yes. Yeah, we've always wanted to champion British wrestling. We've always wanted to do our little bit to support it. So if any promoters or talent want to come on the show to talk about their careers in wrestling, their experiences in wrestling, and their kind of future aspirations, then we'd love to have you on to have a conversation.
Yeah, and a big thanks to everyone that has invited us. Apologies, we can't get to the event. Some of the events have clashed with other events that we've already agreed to go to. Oh, the other one that we're going to, myself and Andy, on the 18th of November, I believe. It's the Knight Family, WAW, doing an all-day event over in the Norfolk Showground, Fightmare, 6-man ladder match going to be involved. Scotty Too Hotty's going to be there. A couple of other WWE guys. The names, apologies that the names are not in my head at the moment because there's been so much. I've seen so many cards over the last few days. I can't get my head around who's doing what. But yeah, myself and Andy will be heading to the Norfolk Showgrounds for that. Anyone that wants to come on, you just got to reach out to us. We'll get you on. We are talking to a big ex-WWE referee as well. That's not the big name. That is a name, not the big name. But that is another
big name and not a big name.
Yeah, exactly. Big name, but not a big name. The big name is still scheduled for. It could be getting brought forward to November. Still at the moment scheduled for December. But again, because it's not agreed, we're not going to say who it is on yet. But let's just say if you're a fan of the Attitude Era, you will love it. But guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's been a great to sit down and chat with Dave. Again, all things AEW. Dropping this week is the interview that Andy had done yesterday with the LA Knight Revolution. Yes, that is, and it's not controlled by LA Knight. LA Knight has officially confirmed that. It is not controlled by him. Andy has been sitting down with him, so that'll be ringside review. This will be dropping as well today, which is Friday, everybody. And then dropping this weekend, SmackDown review. Me and Fiona will be back on Sunday to review all things NWA Samhain, the pay-per-view that is on Saturday night. If you haven't gone on to Fight and bought it, do so. I think there's a 15-match card. 7 of those matches are gimmick matches. Riddle box, pillar to post matches, Burning Lakes, Knights of the Round Table tables match. Yes, that is a thing. It's a circular table. Not a general table. That is all to be. No Limits main event, EC3 versus Tom Latimer, the artist formerly known as Bram, for you Impact Wrestling fans out there. That we're going to be reviewing that. Dave, Parker, and probably myself will be reviewing Collision because I can't wait for that. But guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. That man right there has been the problem child, Dave Robinson. I have been your host, Adam Cousins. And until we see you all again, buckle down, stay safe.